Okay, I'm going to start tonight's meeting right at 6 o'clock. It's a special meeting, capital improvement program, and we get right into it right after roll call.
Councilmember Armendariz is absent. Councilmember Bracco?
Here.
Councilmember Klein?
Here.
Councilmember Hilton?
Here.
Councilmember Marks?
Here.
Councilmember Tavar?
Here.
And Mayor Blankley.
Here. Okay. Daryl, you're going to give us Jimmy's going to do an introduction, then we'll go to Daryl.
All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tonight's presentation is the next 5-year cycle for capital improvement projects. As you may recall, at one point we had these off cycle from the budget, but during COVID, we left them on the same schedule. So this will be the last year you'll have both together, and by both together I mean the operating budget and the CIP. We'll flip them back to being every year you'll do one or the other. You'll either do the operating budget or you'll do the CIP. So just for this year, when we're trying to catch up from COVID, you'll get a full update and a full document. The majority of what you have in your packet, I know you just got it today, you'll have about a month to look through it and ask us questions. So tonight is just an introduction. We're going to talk about some of the high-level projects that maybe we've talked about in the last few months or years. But the majority of projects that we see in this program are pretty routine and pretty much support an ongoing program that we have within the city. Some of the major initiatives that you're going to see, and Daryl's going to talk to you about, are going to be recommended in the budget. So projects such as the Civic Center Master Plan update, which is an expensive project, will be recommended for funding in the budget. Streets 1.6 continuing maintenance program annually will be recommended to be funded in the next 2 years. And so we have identified ways to pay for these major initiatives. The one that does not have a funding mechanism, but we're still going to talk about, is the 10th Street Bridge, as we are in the process of waiting to hear our status as a grantee. But as you just approved on Monday, the environmental work has started on that. So that project has actually started. It has a long ways to go. We are trying to spread resources in many different ways. And so there are areas we could continue to not put investments in, but this will not improve the quality of life for Gilroyans everywhere. And so we have money in here for parks. We have money in here for current fire stations that need some attention. We have money in here for streets, sewers, sidewalks, so a little bit of everything, and we're trying to spread that dollars that we have, because we will always have many, many more projects than we have money. And I think we've done a pretty good job in the last couple of years of looking for grant funding and other ways to fund projects, but we'll always have more projects than money, because we always have more ideas than we can afford. So the last thing I would like to mention is some of these projects are also the basis of unfunded state mandates, especially in the area of stormwater. There have been some state laws that have come into place that require us to invest. So we have only one funding source for that typically, and that is the general fund. But again, we have to do those projects, and we have to prioritize them with our other work. And then the last thing I'll mention is that if you look in the dollars and how they map out, utilities is a massive amount of investment we'll be making in a few years, and we will speak about that at length at the operating budget presentation that you'll receive in a few weeks. So with that, we're here to answer any questions, but we also know this is an introduction, and we'll set aside time to, again, during the budget process, so you can ask us your questions or comments or concerns. So with that, I'll turn it over to Daryl Jordan, who is our Public Works Director. Thank you.
Jimmy, that was a great introduction. I think we can call it. That's pretty good. Nice job. You guys have heard it all. Good evening, everybody. Madam Mayor, Council, and folks here tonight. Glad you could come here tonight. We're really excited to discuss our CIP program with y'all and discuss some of the projects that we have coming up. First I'd like to do is just introduce a few of the team members of our CIP team. We've been working on this for about the last 6 months. Several hundred hours have gone into this document. It's a fantastic document. So on my team that's here tonight, Julie Oates over here. She's our head engineer who's done a lot of the heavy lifting on the project. Olga Kronza, she's back here. Our analyst who's done a lot of work for us as well, Susanna, right here in the front. I've also got Matt, our deputy, back here. And then to make sure everything's been spell checked, we got Bryce in the back over here. And then make sure all the money works, we've got Harjo over here, who's put in a lot of time to make sure this works. So thank you, everybody, for the time that you put in to make this happen. So this book here that we put together that you guys just had a chance to open up now, I'll be glad to have you guys look through that and get back to us with any questions. But I've worked in probably 4 different municipalities over my career, and this has been the most extensive and detailed CIP budget book that I've ever had a privilege to work on. So the City of Gilroy puts out a really good product. So I know that just by the experience I've had with other municipalities. So to start it off, I thought we'd do something fun and look at a successful project that we've already finished up. It was called the Eagleberry parking lot. Now it's called the new Downtown Gourmet parking lot. Let's take a look at what we've been doing out there. That's a pretty cool project, so hope you guys enjoyed that. So let's kick it off here. First of all, let's talk about why we have a CIP program. The CIP represents an ongoing planning process through which the city identifies, prioritizes, and develops a multi-year work plan for major capital expenditures and their associated funding sources. CIP documents the project details required to improve and maintain the city's roadways, parks, facilities, and utilities, as you'll see as you go through the document there. The different areas of our CIP program consist of our streets, which is our roadway system, parks and trails, parks, sports fields, park structures, trails, tree planting. Utilities, like Jimmy mentioned, water, sewer, and storm drain. We have a lot of those projects in the package here. And public facilities, city buildings, structures, and equipment. The definition for a project to get entered into our CIP program has to follow these protocols here. Basically, they have to have a total greater value of $25,000, have an estimated useful life or extended estimated useful life of 5 years or more, require advanced planning and design, have a project duration of more than 3 months from inception to completion, and primarily a non-recurring project. Also, it needs to be developed or implemented at a fixed location. That's the criteria to meet. Project selection process. We have an internal call for projects. The department heads evaluate and prioritize the projects. The projects are submitted to engineering. Finance and engineering reviews the funding for each project and a project charter developed for each project and added to the existing program. The projects are shared with the Parks and Recreation Commission and Planning Commission. And as we go through these, we make sure that they're all in line with the City Council's highest priorities that they've already defined for us. So, project prioritization. Projects are prioritized based on their ability to meet the following factors: the critical health, environmental, or safety hazards, law or mandate, project readiness, council strategic plan goals, infrastructure preservation, availability of external funding, master plan compliance, economic community impact, and annual operating and maintenance costs. Here's an example of one of the projects you'll see in your packet here. This is our Uvis bridge over Uvis Creek here on 10th Street. We'll go through this just as an example of what a typical charter will have that you'll see throughout your budget book here. It basically contains this information here. The project name is on each one, project number, the category, department, project type, project manager, council priorities, location, project photos, description and purpose, project justification, and master plan documents. So there's a very extensive set of information here on each project that you can get familiar with if you're not familiar with these projects, to know where it's from, what it's for, why it's here. And on back of each of those sheets, you'll see there's more information. If you flip the page in your booklet there, And that's the back page that contains the project funding, project costs, funding sources, financial comments, estimated project schedule, ongoing operational cost impact. So you can look at this, you can look at where all the funds are coming from, what funds they're generated from, the schedule that we're trying to meet, and any more comments to help define the project for you. So this will give you a good resource to understand each of the projects. Some highlighted projects we're going to talk about tonight. At the front end of your CIP book includes a section that highlights projects that are recommended for consideration by the City Council. The next several slides will provide a preview of those projects. Many projects are related to ongoing programs and are minor in nature that are included as well. Annual citywide pavement rehabilitation. I think we're very familiar with this. We talked about this on Monday night. We just had a large award, over $6 million for our second year, right, Mayor, of our program. This project will rehabilitate the city's pavement condition. The city has 265 existing lane miles of paved roads with an asset value of over $332 million. The current funding seeks to maintain and improve our PCI amidst rising construction costs, and construction over the next 5 years is approximately $18 million of investment. Here's another fun project that I'm sure you're aware of, the I-Center Infrastructure Project. This project is to design and install the infrastructure for the future Gilroy I-Center. Includes traffic signal and frontage improvements, site grading, stormwater and sewer collection systems, water distribution systems, joint trench for utility connections, and the approximate construction is about $5 million over the next couple of years, year 24, 25. Civic Center Master Plan. This is another big lift for us. This project will examine the city's facilities within the City Hall complex area, identify replacement costs, identify phasing plan and implementation plans. Buildings to be reviewed are the Community Center, City Hall, Senior Center, City Hall Annex, the Wheeler Auditorium, and the Dowdy Building. The planning for this, cost for this project are probably coming in around $750,000 for next year. So they'll be looking at, as you can see that picture up there, they'll be evaluating the replacement of all those buildings except the PD building and, of course, the library. So the next one is a citywide park restoration and re-roofing rehabilitation. As a lot of you know, we've had a lot of vandalism out in our parks. We've had arson issues with a couple of bathrooms burning down, arbors getting burnt down. This project will fund a full replacement of an entire single restroom, as you can see in the picture here. The new restrooms will be prefabricated completely with non-flammable materials and delivered to the site. The purchase install costs are $1.75 million over the next 5 years. So we'll try to replace one per year. A next big project here is the master plan sewer projects. Here we've got a bundle of 16 individual sewer projects, included replacement and addition of new sewer extensions. The areas around town that will be addressed is the Santa Teresa area, Wellburn, Forest and Swanston, Old Gilroy, Uvas Park and Thomas, and the construction investments of almost $15 million over the next 5 years. The next large project is a master planned water projects. This project will consist of 26 individual projects throughout the city to mitigate existing deficiencies and account for future growth to the system. Types of projects here are 13 pipeline replacements, 9 new extensions, 1 storage reservoir improvement, and 3 groundwater well improvements. The estimated construction cost on this is $9.5 million over the next 5 years. Another project that we're working on is the joint Morgan Hill Gilroy trunk line repairs. This project will mediate sewer joint truck line deficiencies, including pipeline and manhole repairs. This consists of 5 trunk line major repairs and 40 manhole repairs. Approximate construction for this project is almost $2 million. That's half of the cost that we'll be sharing with Morgan Hill. Here's the project we looked at the beginning, the new bridge over Uvas Creek, 10th Street and Uvas Creek Bridge. This project consists of a 2-lane bridge with sidewalks and Class 2 bike lanes along 10th Street over Uvas Creek. The project includes a roundabout at Uvas Park Drive and 10th Street, a bridge spanning the Uvas Creek, connection to the Santa Teresa road network, construction is approximately $27 million. We're hoping to get that kicked off in fiscal year 26. We currently have a grant application in process, and Bryce is staying on top of that. We should hear probably in June, I think, Bryce, isn't that? Yeah, so June we should hear whether we have that or not. Here's another one of the unfunded mandates Jimmy was talking about earlier. The state's forcing us to make sure that we do not release any type of trash into the public waterways. So this project addresses the state's mandate to implement system-wide trash capture devices to prevent trash from entering the state's waterways. The state mandates is requiring us for a 35% capture rate by 2026 and a 70% capture rate by 2028. This is trash including cigarette butts and anything of that size have to be captured, not released into our water system. So the construction of that, we're looking at about $1 million over the next 5 years. You can see two of the devices that we're purchasing now. We'll be placing into some of our drain inlets throughout town to give these a test to see which one works best before we purchase the rest of them. 21. 10th Street Highway 101 bridge widening. Julie and I have been on Zoom calls for the last 2 days with the designer on this project. It's pretty exciting. This project will widen the existing bridge overcrossing at 10th Street with an additional lane in both directions, so there will be 3 lanes in both directions. Potential design features are widening the bridge structure from 4 to 6 lanes, working with the intersection and the weaving issues on the east side, the ramp improvements as well, bicycle and pedestrian improvements, and signal modifications. So they're looking at multiple bicycle and pedestrian options on this. Maybe instead of having bikes and peds on both sides, maybe moving them all to a single side with a larger protected lane. So as soon as we get those design options, we'll be bringing those to Jimmy and yourself to look at those. Signal modifications, as well as they land down with the 3 lanes on each side, will have to be modified. Design costs right now, just for design, is $1.3 billion for Gilroy, and the VTA has matched that with $7.6 million currently. The estimated construction cost, once that is designed, is approximately $50 million. Yes?
Since that's the 101, 152 exchange, shouldn't Caltrans be paying that? Or at least part of it?
For the construction, yes. 7.6 of the design cost is coming from the VTA, and it's 1.3 that we're including, I think, is that SB1, guys? Measure B. Measure B fund. So it's not coming out of our general fund, it's Measure B funds.
No, but where's Caltrans in this? It's their road.
They'll be involved in the actual construction of the expansion when it comes to that, I believe. So the VTA is doing all the planning and the design planning, but Caltrans will have to weigh in on the construction.
So they'll kick in some money for the construction?
Yeah, we haven't defined the construction cost yet or the solution for the construction. That's going to come through the VTA and Caltrans with different grants as they build out the corridor.
Okay,
What's the 50 million then?
The $50 million is what it's going to take to construct the improvements estimated.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Well, is that what he's asking Caltrans will be paying for?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I assumed. For the construction, where's Caltrans? Yeah.
So we are not liable for that cost.
Correct. Yeah, it's not in our jurisdiction or our right-of-way, so.
Daryl, before you continue, is there a way to follow in our binder what you're doing here, or no? It's not organized that way?
No, that we're kind of jumping around at different
Okay.
projects at the beginning.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Let's see, where are we at here? Santa Teresa Fire District Temporary Fire Station. This project will construct a temporary fire station adjacent to the Christmas Hill Park ranch site. The amenities here include a modular prefabricated building, sleeping quarters, office, showers, and kitchen. As you can see in the picture up there, it's by the teak building out there on Christmas Hill Park. The future permanent facility is an estimated value of $14 million. And we also had a number, didn't we, Julie, of $11 million for?
$11 million, I think, is for the permanent station.
Yeah. $11 million for the permanent station. And the temporary station estimated costs are $445,000, almost $500,000 for that. Let's see. Also, it's good to mention that we're currently investing about $3 million in station upgrades and maintenance at our current facilities. And if you had any specific questions on that, Chief's here to provide any details on that. CIP budget book. This book that you have before you as you go through this big thing here, it includes 125 project charters. That's a lot. 74 of those 125 projects are proposed for funding in the next 5 years. Of those 74 projects, 8 are engineering projects, 12 are public facility projects, 16 are streets projects, 33 are utility projects, and 5 are parks and trail projects. As you go through that, you'll see that. The value of these individual projects, if you want a breakdown of cost, the engineering projects are about $8.7 million. The public facilities projects, 12 of those are about $6.5 billion. The street projects, 16 of those at $67.8 million. The utility projects, which is the big lift Jimmy talked about, 33 projects, about $91.5 million. And parks and trails, 5 for $6.5 million, with a total 74 projects at a whopping $181 million over the next 5 years. Here's a sheet in your budget book here. If you want to look at where the funds are coming from for each year, you can go year by year, fiscal year 24, 25, all the way through fiscal year 28. And it will give you a breakdown of what we're spending in each of these different funds, from the general fund, Measure B funds, all the way down to sewer and water funds. You can see the breakdown there. Another thing to note is the general fund is contributing funds for 2 years of street maintenance and annual park restroom upgrades with this budget as well. Community engagement. We met with the Parks and Rec Commission. When was that? April 18th, right, guys? Yeah. So we met with them, discussed several of these projects. They were, of course, more interested in the parks types of projects. Of course, we're here tonight, May 3rd, for our workshop here with City Council, and we'll be meeting tomorrow, May 4th, with Sharon and her Planning Commission, and that's specifically for a presentation for compliance with the 2040 General Plan and their approval on that effort alone. So. We will be back with Council on June 5th for our final review and hopefully approval. Next steps that we talked about, Planning Commissions tomorrow night. We will collect any online comments from the community over the next month and bring those to you as well. We have the City Council presentation adoption again on June 5th. So, any questions?
Questions, anyone? Okay, public comment?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have one public comment, and it's from Luis Ramirez.
Madam Mayor, City Council, my name is Luis Ramirez. I am here both as a commissioner for the Parks and Rec Commission and also as a citizen. I am here to advocate for funding a master plan for the Parks and Rec division, because we're not a department yet, but for Parks and Rec. I joined Parks and Rec for a variety of reasons. One is I grew up in a poor part of El Paso, Texas, and recreation was extremely important to me growing up. Took me off the streets, taught me about teamwork, skills in playing sports, very vital to my growing up. As a parent living in Gilroy, I was able to teach my kids basketball, coach them in basketball for 7, 8 years when I was busy working. Loved that part of my life. Got to have some community. Got to meet parents that were similar age as my kids. It was a wonderful experience. And now that I'm living here in Gilroy and enjoying our parks, I think we live in a beautiful city, I said, I'm going to give back and join the Parks and Rec Commission. So in my brief tenure, what I found is that, I can't do a whole lot. We can't do a whole lot. And mostly because our hands are tied. We don't have a funding source. So we're at the whims of the general plan and general fund. And what happens when you're in administration part of the general fund, we're one of the first people to get cut, as we saw during COVID, where we went from a department, in parks at least, from 14, 15 people down to 4 full-time employees. And that's, I think, a cut in the quality of our life as Gilroyans. So what I think a master plan would do is instead of being completely reactive all the time in our commission, we'd be proactive. Instead of having to hear about how the dog parks don't work because they weren't designed right and weren't prepared right because we don't have a plan to follow, we would be in front of that. Instead of hearing about, well, there's a lack of pickleball courts, well, a master plan would anticipate that, would be able to look at that, be able to hopefully fund that. We cannot get funding as a Parks and Rec Commission without a master plan. A master plan would allow us to go to developers and maybe collect some impact fees. Then it gives us the flexibility and we'd be able to actually plan and anticipate instead of constantly reacting. So I know you have lots of choices and lots of hard decisions to make, but I'm hoping you give some serious consideration to funding a Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other speakers?
No other speakers, Madam Mayor.
Okay, closing public comment. Back to council members. Okay, no? Right, so what, are we adjourned? Okay, all right. All right, meeting is adjourned, 6:26.